until the morning light. Unknown places, galaxies near, they're not scary, nothing to fear. Here they come, they're flying high, light is shining from the sky. Do you see them? Can you believe? Aliens here, they never leave. Mystery unfolds tonight in this cosmic neon light. Space invaders, friends we find, futures flashing in our minds. Here they come, they're flying high, light is shining from the sky. Do you see them? Can you believe? Aliens here, they never leave. Mystery unfolds tonight in this cosmic neon light. Space invaders, friends we find, futures flashing in our minds. Here they come, they're flying high, light beams shining. Skies, with eyes that see beyond the lies. Messages from stars above, whisper secrets wrapped in love. Unlock the power deep within, feel the cosmic waves begin. Easy contact, ancient lore, open up the cosmic door. Medicine and with ancient skill, heals our minds and bends our will. True Bankey guides our soul to a higher cosmic goal. Serpent paths and sacred flames, mystic signs and secret names. In the darkness find the light, take a cosmic eagle flight. Unlock the power deep within, feel the cosmic waves begin. Easy contact, ancient lore, open up the cosmic door. Ancient skill heals our minds and bends our will. True Bankey guides our soul to a higher cosmic goal. Medicine man with ancient skill heals our minds and bends our will. Heals our minds and bends our will. Open up the cosmic door. Shifting knowledge in our hands, cosmic eagle understands. Unlock hearts and show the way to a brighter cosmic day. In the shadows of the night, where the secrets come to light, voices echo through the space, whispers of a hidden place. Black ops running through the veins, mysteries that break the chains. Eyes wide open looking in, where do our dreams begin? Let's talk about the unknown, in a world that isn't shown. From the stars to underground, Extraterrestrials collide, where the interdimensional hide. Abductions in the dead of night, in the darkness out of sight. Black ops running through the veins, mysteries that break the chains. Eyes wide open looking in, where do our dreams begin? Black ops running through the veins, mysteries that break the chains. Eyes wide open looking in, where do our dreams begin? Black ops running through the veins, mysteries that break the chains. Eyes wide open looking in, where do our dreams begin? Black ops running through the veins, mysteries that break the chains. Eyes wide open looking in, where do our dreams begin? Let's talk about the unknown, in a world that isn't shown. From the stars to underground, where the mysteries are found. Let's talk about the unknown, in a world that isn't shown. From the stars to underground, where the mysteries are found. Mysteries are found. Extraterrestrials collide, where the interdimensional hide. Abductions in the dead of night, in the darkness out of sight. Extraterrestrials collide, where the interdimensional hide. Abductions in the dead of night, in the darkness out of sight. Extraterrestrials collide, where the interdimensional hide. Abductions in the dead of night, in the darkness out of sight. Cyclops running ancient woods, Anunnaki understood. Near death brings a different view, out of body feels so true. Let's talk about the unknown, in a world that isn't shown. From the stars to underground, where the myth.
There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. How's everyone doing today? This is a special edition of SNX Radio with me, one of your hosts, Drew Bankey, and the main host, the one that put it all together, Nicole Coley. We are going to be joined here today with Jay Anderson. We're going to talk about UFOs. Of course, we're going to talk about the drones that are incursioning all over the planet since mid-November. I think November 18th was the official start day of it. I don't know. But yeah, we are in for a jam-packed episode today. So just buckle up your seatbelts. Share this out with your friends. This is going to be the one to remember today, everybody. I'm excited to be here. Nicole, are you there? Can you hear me? How are you?
Yes, I am here. And hello, everybody.
Let's go. Let's
let's
go.
rock this. Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing? Everything
Great.
going good? Great.
I'm
We've been
pumped up.
super excited. Yeah, to have Jay on, and hopefully, he's excited to be on. I'm sure he is. So
Yeah, I spent a long time. We're driving around running errands yesterday, getting ready for the holidays, and listening to some of his podcasts. So I was like, oh man, I can just hear Source talking through him. I can feel the kinship to him already, just through hearing him talk on the podcast. Just some of the things that he says. So I'm excited. I think this is going to be a great conversation. I'm gearing up. I'm getting my ideas and notes ready. I'm about to go to Vegas on the 2nd and be on the Digital Social Hour Song Kelly podcast. So yeah, it's just and today's solstice, so it's a perfect time to have this conversation. I can't wait to have it. So
perfect. Oh, well, should we bring Jay on?
yeah, is Jay ready? Let's go.
I believe so. Jay, he's giving us thumbs up. He's ready to go.
Cool.
All right,
So as you bring him up, I'm going to read through a short bio. Jay Anderson is the founder and host of Project Unity, a platform where curious minds gather for fascinating conversations on a variety of subjects, from alternative propulsion physics to the philosophies of consciousness. Jay has networks in journalism, the scientific communities, the intelligence communities. He is a public speaker and open source intelligence researcher who's experienced anomalous events in life he cannot explain, and which place him on his path. He is now on the creation of Project Unity. And I've seen him on Gaia, Contact in Desert and a bunch of other places. So I'm excited about this conversation. Nice to meet you, Jay. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to be here. I'm still recovering from a little bit of a cold, so I've got like a gigantic mug of tea just to represent my Britishness as much as possible. And I'll be sipping on that periodically. And I'll be coughing a lot, but I've learned how to mute the button, so don't worry. I'll make sure that that's not coming through on the audio. How am I sounding, by the way? Is it all okay?
Great. Yeah, you sound
Sounds
great.
great.
Okay, awesome.
Perfect.
Well, it's great to meet you guys.
Definitely. I'm glad your cold's feeling better. That there's nothing worse than to feel miserable. So no, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So, and looking at your stuff, you have such a broad spectrum of the areas that you covered. I was so impressed by some of your work, and thought I, kind of wanted to hear the back end story and to let our audience know. We're going out on several platforms, and it will also be aired on Helix Rock Radio, rockradio.live. So just for the radio side, sometimes I try and tell people just remember they can't see what we're holding up or things like that. But yeah, no, so it'd be exciting to get you out there, and so yeah, let us know. Tell us about Jay.
Yeah, well, I started my YouTube channel, Project Unity, back in, I think, about 2019. And that was because I had a series of experiences with orb phenomena that just changed my entire perspective and outlook on reality. So at that point in my life, I didn't really have an intense direction, and I certainly didn't have an idea of where this was going to go with Project Unity. I just wanted to tell people that I'd had these experiences. Just let me clear my throat real quick.
Let me clear my throat.
Yeah, I just got to go.
Yeah, he beat me to it.
So I just felt the need to tell people that I had these experiences because they were extremely profound. And so to start off, I essentially just got a camera, went out to the local bit of woods near me, and just away from as many people as possible, set up a camera and just started talking to the camera about what I'd seen, what I'd experienced, how it happened, why I think it happened. And I just started uploading it to, at that point, just an old YouTube channel that I renamed Project Unity, and decided to start doing this. And weirdly enough, it just didn't take that long. I think probably about a year into doing the channel, I got connected to some interesting people, and I just seemed to, I don't know, I just seemed to be in the right place at the right time, to be acknowledged by some, really awesome people like Richard Dolan very early on that kind of gave me a bit of a boost. And it was very quick. It was all very fast for me personally, because I just basically went out to put my story on the internet, and then I ended up doing interviews, and it all steamrolled from there. So since then, I've become very interested in a lot of different alternative sciences or esoteric sciences, spanning from both kind of the physics and quantum strangeness over to the mysticism, because there are incredible parallels between those two worlds. And just to kind of finish it off, the reason I called my YouTube channel Project Unity is because I actually do believe there is some form of a symbiosis, like an entanglement that needs to occur between spirit and science. These two things that we consider to be really opposing worldviews are not so opposing, especially as we're getting deeper and deeper into the quantum realms of reality, and it's starting to look a little bit more like a conscious universe. So yeah, I kind of like my whole aspect of what I do is trying to find answers on my own experiences, which led me down a lot of different routes, and I haven't found any answers, just a lot more questions.
That's so true too.
Yeah, man. Sounds like some of the stuff I would say on interviews. Some of that stuff you just said, I've listened to myself, but which is interesting. It's and it all ties back to exactly what you were saying. So it's kind of like this big swirl going on. But let's take it back to where Jay grew up. Like, what was his childhood like, and lead us up to the very first bona fide, like, okay, the world is not what it seems moment.
Yeah, I actually have a weird story. That was in London. I grew up primarily in North Wales, like the countryside of North Wales, which is, for anyone listening who doesn't know, it's connected to England, but it's a separate country technically, part of the UK. And so I was born just outside of London, but I moved to Wales when I was pretty young. So I pretty much grew up in the countryside. And then I moved to London for university, and I bounced around London for a number of years. Now I'm in Nottingham. I've been in Nottingham for about 5 years now. The Americans call it Nottingham. not Nottingham, we call it Nottingham is how you guys probably pronounce it. But yeah, I've had a pretty normal life, to be honest. My life isn't one where like throughout childhood it was peppered with mystery and strange paranormal experiences or anything like that. I mean, I've always had a very active imagination, and I was a creative child, and I've always been a creative person. So I think and that's a discussion that I think is critical when it comes to having these weird experiences, is your level of intuition. There seems to be a certain connection between intuitive people or creative people. And I think that that's because your mind is a bit more open. So you're not just taking the data of your immediate environment and going, right, that's what reality is. If you're a bit of a daydreamer, an artist, a creator, you're drifting off into strange spaces all the time. So I think it opens the door perceptually to whatever some of this paranormal anomalous phenomena actually is when you have a slightly more open mind. So I've been an open-minded person my whole life, but the first real weird kind of paranormal experience I had was in London when I was going to meet a friend of mine, and I can't for the life of me remember the actual area it was called in London, but I basically saw a ghost door, and it was a very weird experience because basically, to cut a very long story short, I got off the bus to go visit my friend, and I was walking down the sidewalk, and there's like a row of houses going down this sidewalk, and then basically cutting through this row of houses, there's a tunnel, like a tunnel entrance, and that leads into another estate, like another kind of like group of houses on the inside, and that's where I'd usually go to cut through and visit my friend. And so I was walking down the sidewalk, and I go to turn, and as I get to this tunnel entrance, there's this gigantic wooden door, like this big church door with metal calligraphy, like a very old looking church door. And I didn't actually think anything of it. I was just like, oh no, like they've closed the door. I'm gonna have to go all the way around and find another way into the inside of this estate. So anyway, it took me a little bit longer, and I went around and I went back to my friend's house, and she was like, what took you so long? And I said, well, they closed the door on the tunnel. And she was like, there's no door on the tunnel. I was like, no, that's ridiculous. There's a gigantic door. So we went down there. She was like, no, seriously, come with me. There's no door. We walked down, and lo and behold, it's just a smooth tunnel, no door, no hinges for a door, nothing at all. And the weirdest part of the story was that we were so freaked out by this. Like, she could tell I was genuinely freaked out by the fact that there was no door there anymore. So we went back and we actually Googled the place that she lived and the street. We found old black and white photos, I'm not kidding, of that street, and that door was on that tunnel. So I don't know, that was like my first ever experience in my life of having something strange happen, but it almost felt like I've heard stories, and I've even got stories from within my family of people who've had experiences where something just appears and then disappears, like an old wall in the attic that suddenly becomes a new wall again, and then an old wall, and it's almost like a flip in time. I kind of think of those things as almost like a little glitch in time. And so that was that was my first ever experience. But from that point, which was a number of years ago, up until basically 2019, I was having a pretty normal life, and then things changed pretty drastically.
Oh, definitely. So that's fascinating because I've never heard that. Have you ever gone through it's like the Matrix, kind of like melting down?
Yeah.
It's like what? Yeah. So have you ever tried to go through some of the doors or explore the areas? The first time this is a great like gift. Like I can see spirits.
Well, I mean, I've not seen another door since. Like, that was the only time I've ever had that experience, and I've often wondered what would happen if I'd actually gone up and opened that door, and would I have seen Victorian London on the other side or something, horse and carriages, and I don't know, but it's not happened again, or at least not to my knowledge, it's happened again. So I'm not sure what that was about, but it was very clear. It wasn't even like ghostly. It was just a solid door. I just looked at it and was like, oh, that sucks. They've closed it. Only to find out
been like running right towards that door.
Never existed. Crazy.
Well, yeah, we're glad because you're still here. So your whole family experiences like things like that where it's like it sounds like can I call it a breakdown in the Matrix, or what do you refer to it as? Like,
well, I mean, my family, not necessarily. I don't come from like a line of people that experience things. There have been like some ghost sightings in my family. The thing that I was thinking of was actually a family friend of ours, like this couple that my mum and my dad have known for years, and they moved into this new house, and it was like a 3-story house with an attic space at the top. And when they went into the new house and they were going up, they noticed that in the attic space, the wall that was separating their attic to the neighbor's attic was crumbling down. It was all dilapidated and falling apart. So they went downstairs, like, obviously this isn't good. We need to let them know. So we went downstairs and like knocked on the neighbor's door. And they basically were like, hey, we just moved in. We just noticed that up in the attic, the wall's kind of crumbling down. So we're probably going to get someone in to fix that up. And apparently the wife's face dropped and she just went, oh, God, it's happening again. And like they were like, what do you mean it's happening again? And the husband was like, come upstairs with us. And he took them back upstairs. And they said, I kid you not, the wall was brand new. And he said, the husband apparently was like, this happens from time to time. It hasn't happened in years, but sometimes you'll go up and it's an old wall. And sometimes you'll go up and it's the wall that it is meant to be today. And so, like, honestly, with stuff like that, because there's another fascinating story that I can't remember where it comes from, but I remember it was on the BBC years ago, where a bunch of construction workers in the UK reported seeing a Roman centurion legion marching through the hillsides, but only half of the body was showing, like just the top of the horses and some Roman centurion flags, and most of the body was submerged. They saw this kind of like ghostly army marching across the countryside. And I just think those things are slips in time. Like that army did march across there at one point. Now there's more land. So when you see it happen in a slip in time, they're half submerged in the ground. But honestly, I think, stuff like that, we just don't understand the flow of time. Like we think we live in this linear A to B to C to D, and we really don't. It seems that way because our basic perception tells us it is, but there's too many anomalies, too many glitches that seem to appear. And I think that that's just proof that things are not as they seem when it comes to the flow of time and how that can be perceived by us. And I think some people as well are just more sensitive. You get people who are just more sensitive to almost like they're tapping into the quantum ocean, kind of tapping into the probabilities, and they're able to see a bit into the future or see a bit into the past. And I think we're all capable, but certain people just have a better gift, a stronger natural gift.
This is different than some of the things that I've heard. Do you think it's like the area? Like in the United States, we really don't know much about history. I mean, we're only a couple hundred years old. Before,
you got a rich Native American history. Like you got the a very rich kind of like mystical shamanic history going down in the States, and it's the same with the UK.
I know a little bit about all that.
That's true. Yeah,
I know a little bit about all that. But
tell me quickly what you do, Drew. Like he's into like the shaman stuff, and he does.
Yeah, so I founded Sacred Journeys with him back in 2020, where we serve ayahuasca, San Pedro. We grow San Pedro here in the greenhouse. So our San Pedro is closed circuit. So from start to finish, we grow it, we harvest it here, we process the medicine, and we do ceremony with it all here on the property. Awesome. We're a 501c3. We've helped a ton of people. We're still helping people, kind of slowing down, but we have a ceremony coming up in Southern California, coming up in February with ayahuasca. And I've wrote a few books. I'm a sun dancer, sacred pipe carrier. So I've sun danced 3 years. I've danced the tree. I pulled skulls, and I eagle dance. So the full piercings and everything. And I also work over at Spaced Out Radio. So I do the after hours shows, weekend wrap up on Saturdays and Sundays at 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time is when I do that. So the third hour of the after hours wrap up show. And I speak too about a lot of stuff, telekinesis and telepathy. I do a telekinesis, introduction to telekinesis exercise I do in person. I've done it live here before, where basically using your meridian points and pushing energy out your meridian points in the pendulum or a dowsing rods. I have dowsing rods too, but I do it it's an experimental thing. So I walk people through. They have their own pendulum, and I walk them through, and I show them how they can move the pendulum themselves. But man, so I'm super excited about getting into this interview. Before we do it any further, we're going to take questions at the end. I think, like Scott said, put your questions in all caps. Thanks for being here. Let's go through the list real quick and welcome everybody in that's listening. We got Shelly and Scott that I can see. Let me go to my other other page. Let me see who's all in here.
Yeah, you should be able to see across. Sometimes Twitter is a little funny.
Yeah, I can't see all of them.
Yeah, I see Scott. Nice to see you.
Yeah, who's all in here?
You know, this is where Supreme. We got. You know, I don't have my glasses on. Rodney. Hey, Rodney. I can recognize that. Shelly Montgomery. If I'm saying these wrong, please just excuse me. I'm going to see my eye doctor in a couple days here, so I have that taken care of too. But yeah, everybody here, you know, if you have a question, I'm trying to star them, and then afterwards we'll get them up for you. So ask them as you
Supreme
go.
Chancellor. Oh, Crestone Radio. I see Crestone Radio in here.
Hey, yeah,
Crestone, Colorado. I was just on their show last week or so talking about drones, and that's you know, that's going to be the next question, Jay, so you can start thinking about it is, you know, what do you think about the drones? I mean, I'm sure that you've been asked 1,000 times, but not on this channel. So what's going on with these drones? Is it half and half, full on, you know, is this the new age, or is it blue beam?
Fifth industrial revolution. I mean, what is your take on it? I kind of know from seeing your post on Facebook or on Twitter, so.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Because I'm kind of switching and swapping as things develop. But I think that there's definitely a level of just kind of social media hysteria and people kind of pumping the algorithm because suddenly it's something that everyone's talking about. But the government is being extremely weird with their messaging on it, and that's what's giving me doubts about their actual honesty on saying that there's nothing going on, because there's this weird disconnect. There's just this really weird disconnect, even between people who are like in the congressional and Senate halls who are talking about this, and they're tweeting about it. You know, they're posting on X about it, saying, "Oh, you know, I've got more people in my constituency complaining about this and sending me videos." And like, I don't know, because like there's a part of me that's like, right, I don't think that there are shape-shifting drone alien vehicles. Personally, that's just not my take. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see evidence for that. It's one of those ones where I just feel like people can just, you know, anything can become shape-shifting if you want it to be. So that's a bit of a lame one to put out there without the evidence, until I see like an actual UAV drone changing into like a saucer and zipping off. I'm not really convinced. So I think that there's something going on with the government. I wouldn't be surprised if they are doing what they were saying they're not doing, which is some kind of like nuke sniffing operation. You know, people forget that aside from the fact that UFOs are a talking point now in the government, that we're in a really tumultuous time in terms of geopolitics. Like, there is so much going on the world stage that would you know, be a perfect storm for drones to be swarming into sensitive sites across NATO and Five Eyes countries. So like, I'm kind of on the fence of it being just a human intelligence operation, maybe China or Iran or Russia, maybe even something from a private group. I'm not necessarily convinced by the videos that are coming out online.
Could be China. It could be China.
I mean, like, at the end of the day, you know, they let a Chinese balloon just fly across the states taking photos for days on end before they decided to do anything about it. It's not exactly like out of kind of context for the US to just be like, yeah, let them do their thing. So I don't know, maybe there's a bigger thing going on. There's certainly a level of hype and kind of like superstition that I think doesn't need to be thrown around. I think it's human, probably. It's human situations unfolding.
What do you think about Trump's statement that he made about the drones a few days ago?
Well, he said that the government knows. He said they know, and they don't want to talk about it. Something along those lines, right?
Yeah.
And you know, like I said, there's something going on. I don't think it's entirely just smoke and mirrors and people online sharing videos. There's definitely an actual situation taking place. I'm more tempted to go towards it's a potential threat from a foreign nation, from someone that they consider potentially to be a nuclear threat, and less so on the it's, you know, blue beam or aliens pretending to be drones with signal lights. That's just not my cup of tea.
It's not your cup of tea.
I've seen the drone shows in China where they've gotten 10,000 of them up, and they all like after seeing
big
that,
the big dragon that they have, and it changes all around.
yeah, there's many different
I
ones,
mean,
but
I kind of feel like I kind of feel like sometimes people are willing to almost forget that we have technology like this to entertain the idea that it could be some sort of alien technology. And it's like I'm totally on board with let's find some alien technology, but let's not like look for it where it clearly is not existing. Like these things are signal lights. They're using totally normal propulsion systems. You can hear them in the sky. I haven't seen a single video yet showing one of these vehicles doing an exotic maneuver, like some sort of crazy 90-degree fly off. So, I mean, like, don't look for it where it doesn't exist. Like, there's something going on, but I would literally park aliens right at the bottom of the list and look way more towards intelligence and national security and nuclear threat.
There was going back when maybe about 4 years ago, 3 years ago, I got invited to New Mufon, Nebraska. I know the director, it's Fred. Anyway, I got on there and there was someone on there from Netflix, and they had an overabundance of like 70 calls at one time saying that drones were coming down and they were by the fields. Now, some intel that I got said that what we are doing and what the whole point of the last 4 years was to take an inventory, a world inventory. So I just wonder if that's not what's happening and they're pushing us into the 4th, 5th industrial revolution and just, because we're all, the coverage, they said you can't even go out and live off grid anymore. You're still on grid, it's everywhere. So I was kind of curious to that aspect of it too, because they're all over the world, right? That's what I'm hearing, different places, and all countries within the NATO boundaries, of course. But yeah, it was very interesting. And
I've seen video in England and Italy, all over the world, but not in all corners. As soon as I say that, the first comment I get is like, I look up at the sky and I didn't see anything. That's the very first comment that pops up. It's just, but what I tell people, I still think we're going through a point in human evolution. Just because these drones and things are maybe not from another planet, I don't know if they are or not. Like I don't know 100% either way. But just even if they're not from another planet, it's creating enough of a stir in the collective conscious to trigger, this shifting point in human evolution. And that's what I feel overall going on, especially I think within the next couple of years, I think we're going to see a massive explosion in human consciousness, and we're going to see people abilities start shining through. And that's what we need to see more of. The UFO community has always been distracted by looking up in the sky when really the answers are within inside them, because what's going on in the sky leads you back to within yourself, like to expand within your own universe within yourself. That's what I have said so many times, like a bona fide like UFO, like I've had face-to-face encounter near Chaco Canyon too, and those experiences, I felt them permeate through every cell of my body. You can feel the vibration. You understand after a bona fide experience, you understand about vibration, you understand about frequency, you understand more, like what Tesla was talking about. And that's like the BS meter that you have, like, for these experiences. So overall, it's an individual thing. Like you watching video, like, or if hopefully you go out and see something in person, but that's the ultimate test of like experiencing it yourself, because that's the real shifting point. Like you can read books all day, but until you have an actual experience, that change, I think there's something that we probably won't ever understand, definitely not in this lifetime fully, what activates inside you when you have that bona fide experience. How do you feel about that?
You touched on something important, which is that when you have these experiences, or the deeper you look into the UFO subject, it's inescapable that you arrive at a more consciousness or mystic related perspective on the subject, which is interesting. And I think it's almost like the UFO is exactly what the Western mind needs in order to look inside, because we're an extremely externalized society, a technological and science-based society. And so here's a technological asset. It seems to be, at least, it seems to be an exotic technology of some form. So that appeals to the Western mind, a flying saucer. But then when you have, stories of people that experience flying saucers where their dead grandfather comes out to meet them, and it goes, okay, so hang on, what is this then? It blurs the line between those two worlds, that spirit science, that kind of, entanglement I was talking about earlier. That's why for me, when I dive deep into the UFO subject, it just became very clear to me that it seems like it's a message to the certain part of humanity that's gone down this route, right? This externalized mind, and it leads to the same realization that was being told by the mystics thousands of years ago. It's the same message. It's almost like it goes through history. It's a burning bush one day, it's a flying saucer the next. It's like this weird ghost that haunts human history, follows us throughout history, and changes but adapts to the culture at large with the same message: unity, connectivity, consciousness, oneness, universal communion. Like, these are the messages that come forward the most. Of course, there are other elements. There are people that are traumatized. There are people that say that there are extremely, extremely malicious aspects to this subject. I've never had a personal experience like that, so I can't comment outside of what I've heard. But it's a big universe. I wouldn't assume everything is just going to be positive and benevolent. There's probably some pretty malevolent energies and entities we wouldn't want to interact with as well. In fact, I'm pretty certain that they do exist. I'm kind of the as above, so below mindset.
When you're saying that, I heard something very interesting in there. So you said that you might see like your dead granddad or something. Like, so where do you think the lines of like paranormal and ET cross? I've experienced both. I grew up seeing spirits, but I encountered ET. Like, where do you think that these lines merge together?
I mean, I'm almost of the opinion that these things are from what we would call the afterlife. But whatever the afterlife is not necessarily, this theological image of heaven's gates or anything like that. I kind of think that the afterlife might be the imagination. The imagination is essentially this realm of timeless creation where things can happen instantaneously, and the rules of physics don't apply in the imagination. And so I know that sounds pretty wild, but when you think about psychedelic states and astral states and transcendental states and near-death experiences, they all have this very similar ecology, this very similar kind of like grouping of testimonies around them, including UFO phenomena and alien greys. These things, especially the greys, I find this fascinating. They seem to permeate through all sorts of things, including the Amazon basin with the tribal cultures of the Amazonian rainforest, because the shamans there was a fascinating podcast not that long ago. I talked about it when I was at Contact in the Desert, because I thought it was such a worthy thing to highlight when I was discussing the alien greys. So many assume it's just a Hollywood archetype and Close Encounters and, it's something from the West. But not only do you have very weird cave paintings and, Aboriginal Australian cave art and some very questionable things in Egyptian pottery, but with the with the indigenous Amazonian tribesmen, there was two of them on a podcast, and these guys were straight from the Amazonian, rainforest, and they were ayahuasca shamans, and they had no concept of what an alien was. They didn't have that in their cultural description, but they got shown a picture of an alien grey, and this guy just goes, "Oh, that's Makanwabu." And they had this entire story about Makanwabu, which was like this human that became an ant, and now it lives underground, and it can steal your soul, and you need a good shaman to bring your soul back, and it can appear in divine light, but it's a trickster. And it's like, whoa, that sounds very similar to a lot of the accounts that are given to us by people in the Western world when it comes to UFO encounters. So yeah, this intersection between consciousness, transcendental states of consciousness, near-death experiences, psychedelic experiences, and UFO encounters, it to me, it almost speaks of a shared dimensional space that permeates with our own space, and it bleeds through sometimes. Whatever these things are, they seem to be able to have access to multiple realms of dimensional space, because they can traverse almost space, time, and the mind. And it's Stephen Greer, actually, I remember he was the first person to put this kind of little kernel of thought into my head, that then they're moving not at the speed of light, but they're moving at the speed of consciousness. So if they are a technological species, they might still be a spiritual species, because if their technology gets sophisticated enough, they tap into that unified field, they tap into that Akashic record, whatever you want to call it, the universal ocean of quantum energy, the 0 point. Once you've done that, you kind of are a transcendent species. So whether or not you want to label that as spiritual, it would probably come off as spiritual if you experienced it. So when you have orbs come down from the sky that just defy all known logic, you know, that to a lot of people, myself included, is like a mystical experience. And especially when those orbs come down from the sky after you've been sitting there in your back garden meditating and actually asking in your mind for something to turn up, and then something turns up. So there's something here. There's a profound consciousness question. That's what drives me more than anything. The alien, you know, there's plenty of people out there to tell you about the Galactic Federation of Light or this or that. I don't know about those things, but I am absolutely 100% convinced that there is something that is connected to our consciousness, and that to me is very important.
I'm not sure if you.
I see you, brother. I see you. I definitely see you. You want to hear a cool gray story that I experienced in ceremony firsthand? Not through secondhand. Doing a ceremony in Crestone, Colorado, just up the valley. I live just south of Crestone, Colorado, in the San Luis Valley, just south of Mount Blanca. There's all types of occurrences. You were talking earlier about your experience seeing like a door opening up, like in your initial story. There's a story I just come out in a documentary. I was watching a documentary, and it just got produced or let out. I don't know if it's on Netflix. I can't remember where I found it at. I just ran across it, but it was talking about in this valley, just maybe 20 miles from where I'm at right now. Two guys were camping in a tent and everything, and in the middle of the night they were sleeping and got woken up by this bright light that was shining outside of the tent. They got out and they saw orb and like two orbs coming to them, and they joined. I might be getting the story mixed up a little bit, but the most important thing is something happened, and like this door opened up, and they seen a group of cowboys riding on horses coming towards them, and as it come towards them, it kind of vanished. But they both accounts were the same accounts. They weren't out there on peyote or anything. They weren't doing anything. This just happened in the middle of the night. That's an interesting connection I wanted to point out from what you were talking about earlier. But the Grays, I was in ceremony up in Crestone, and this maybe, I don't know, 4 years ago. I was setting in a ceremony with one of my teachers, Guerrero, from South America, and we were doing Bufo, 5-MeO, but it was Bufo, so it was like shot in your nose. Really extreme ceremony, but I was helping him out. He did his medicine first and come back and then administer mine. And within a second, I vibrated out of control and my body disintegrated. But I was still in the room. Like, my body wasn't there, but my consciousness still was. And I saw in the corner of the room this light open up. And the corner of the room, like this gray, like peeked in, and then he crawled in as this portal's opening up. There's 3 of them that ended up coming in eventually, and they were walking around and they were putting their hands over people, and I could see like energy coming out of their hands, and it was healing people as they were going around. I stood up and walked over to one of them, and they grabbed my hand. They started showing me what they were doing. Like, they were talking to me telepathically and showing me how to heal with my hands, walking around, like pushing out. My wife was there beside me. This is where it gets really interesting. My wife was there beside me, and I was back in my body then, but they were still there. Like, I was interacting with them. They were teaching me something. And I asked them, I was like starting to sob, because at the time my wife was going through like female, like stomach pains and stuff like that. And after her daughter, like my stepdaughter, she's 19 now, but after she had her, she wasn't supposed to be able to have children again. But at this time, like over these months that was around this ceremony, she was going through a lot of abdominal pain, cramps, and things like that. And I asked them, I was like, you're showing me how to heal all these other people. Like, why won't you let me heal my family? Like, what I really want to heal. And they said, it's simple. Like, all you have to do is ask. And they took my hand and they wiped one of the tears off my face, and they had me rub around her navel. And I have 2 children inside that's been born after that. One is Hawk. He was born on 111 on the way to the hospital. When he was born, we both experienced had a sighting. There was a ship that was going alongside us all the way into town for like 5 minutes, and then he was born right after that on 111. And my daughter Ember was born, and this is after that. So that's where it gets really interesting. So my experience with Grays and my take on, I think, because the message is about unity. The higher conscious overall message is about unity, understanding you're connected with everyone else. You're living a separate illusion per se, but you're going through. Ultimately you're connected. So I believe we're going to break free of this. I think we're learning the lesson of duality right now, and once we learn that lesson of duality, it fades away, and then we go into a different set of humanity. So I don't think these advanced civilizations I don't think there's any negative that can exist past. I think we're going to release that at the end of 3D, and moving forward, I think that some of us are in 4D, 5D, and living amongst different dimensional experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sure what that means in terms of living in 4D or 5D consciousness. I mean, I guess you could almost say that the experiences I had with those orbs, it's almost like a fleeting state of a higher level of consciousness. So bravo to anyone who's living in that state continuously in the Western world of insane corporate corruption and propagandized information being blasted into your brainstem 24/7, to say nothing of just the passive radiation that's blasting into our brains through all of the different things that we've constructed in our world. So I mean, it's definitely a state that I think that we should be trying to move towards and cultivate in the Western world. And that's why I actually think that psychedelics are probably the better way to try and introduce that into the Western world. And people have a lot of, but it's funny because people have a lot of resistance to this, and they say, oh, well, meditation is the more authentic and it's the more natural way of doing these things. And although I would say that that's absolutely an admirable feat if you can get to yourself to the transcendental levels of meditation, but we live in a completely different world to the Tibetan Buddhists. Like, we do not live in a world where we can close off the noise 24/7. So the difficulty levels for the Westerner are increased exponentially when it comes to unlocking these natural latent parts of our consciousness. We've got an even more uphill battle just because of the world that we exist in. I mean, I talk the talk and I try and live my best, but I'm materialistic. I get, I think about what I'm going to get for my birthday or whatever, things like that. It's just, we're all guilty of being part of this system. So when I have my experiences, to me, that's kind of like a fleeting, subtle tune in to that bandwidth that we should be operating on. And when you do get into that bandwidth, something turns up. The way that I kind of looked at it with my experiences was, it was almost like a baby steps validation in strengthening your consciousness. So, you kind of get up a little bit on that rung, you get a little bit higher up on that ladder, and something turns up to validate that there has been a shift. You have actually shifted your consciousness. Here's something to kind of respond to you in a novel way that's going to confirm that for you. That's how it felt for me, because it didn't start off with orbs of light hovering above my house. It started off with flashes of light in the sky and things that were just looking strange, and it built up, and over the course of a couple of months, suddenly I was having these experiences with these orbs. So, I think that, getting into those states where it's like, fourth dimensional consciousness or fifth dimensional consciousness, people say that a lot, that we're moving into these states in the age of Aquarius. And I'd like to think that we're on the knife's edge of a transformation, because it certainly feels that way. And as a 29-year-old who's about to become 30 in like a month's time, I can't envision the next 5 years, let alone the next 10 years. So I can't actually imagine us going along with the normal system of things that it is now for much longer. There has to be a transformation. And I'm not willing to believe that it's going to be some sort of dystopian globalist nightmare. I'm actually much more on the side of, if we can continue and maintain a state of higher consciousness as much as possible, there is a collective bleed through, there is a collective impact, there is a domino effect, and things can change. So I don't think it's empty optimism to just kind of like say to people to try and be in that state as much as possible, learn to meditate, do a couple of things each day that are, practicing gratitude. These are things that, we roll our eyes at. But in all honesty, I actually think that's the state that we need to cultivate. I'm guilty of it, because as someone who's on like X 24/7 and I post on there a lot, I get guilty of, posting things that I'm like, oh my God, that sucks about the world. I'm really annoyed that's happened. I'm going to post about that. And, it's good to talk about the things that concern us, but I also think that it can actually have the opposite effect, right? If we're always bombarding ourselves with like, hey, look what's happening to P. Diddy, or look what's happening in Russia, and look what, we start getting so depressed over the state of the world. It actually maintains that state of the world if we believe in complementary resonance, if everyone's in anxiety, fear, and paranoia, so is that my cue to shut up?
No. That was no.
It's right.
I bumped my elbow real quick. It kind of scared me.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, I think that it's a balance, especially in this day and age of the online world, to kind of like be informed, but not let that drag you down into crazy anxiety. If we want to be in that higher dimensional state, we've got to start thinking in a higher dimensional way,
Beautifully put. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's the way I see about like dimensional shifts and like individual consciousness, not talking about the collective consciousness, like individual consciousness. Like for me, I believe, I don't know if this is all correct, but like this is the way I look at it. Fourth dimensional consciousness is like the understanding of oneness, and I think fourth dimensional is kind of like a transition point to fifth dimensional consciousness. I think fifth dimensional consciousness is a cellular knowing, and it influences all your decisions from the back end, because it's the basis of what you are, the understanding of oneness, that you're looking at a mirror of yourself and really deducing every moment in it as it's as a message, as a lesson, good or bad. Like you're deducing, and you're not passing judgment with, and overcoming your emotions. So that would be like my, overall look of what like fourth, fifth dimension will look like. And I think
you point out to me one person who's living like that 24/7.
I think it's about trying also.
I know it's definitely about time, but
I think it's about trying and also understanding, like, even if you do like flip someone off that cut you off in traffic, like you're still a part of that overall creation. I believe I'm, and I know many others that keep themselves in that state and are immediately can forgive themselves and allow that, because that's a part of the creation as well. Like one of my core beliefs of every moment of my life is that everything happens for a reason. So that means there is no wrong or rights. There is just moments. So like, that's I don't really, and there is times I do judge, but that's because I'm still part of the creation.
Yeah, I think I mean in a way I would say, at least from my own personal perspective, because life is hard, man. Life is difficult in a myriad of ways for people in different spectrums of experience as well. Obviously, there's people right now who are living a lifestyle that you and I would, never want in our worst nightmares. So there's definitely, scales of experience, and there's an argument to be made for what you said, that everything does happen for a reason. There's a larger mosaic at play. Everything is feeding into the fabric of life, and I agree with that. But I also think that we're in the trenches of the human experience. It's visceral, it's real, it's emotional. There's ups and downs. It's all a part of growing and getting wiser. So, when, for example, someone wrongs me or wrongs my loved one, it's difficult, right? Not to respond with judgment and not to respond with anger. That's the initial response. That's the human reptile lower hominid brain response. And I suppose for me, it's kind of like, well, I never expect to fully get over that response, but I can definitely recognize when it's happening, and I can work on not doing it as much. And I think that's part of it, right? But like, Christ consciousness, perfection, that's something that I, don't necessarily strive for in this lifetime. That's a lot of pressure.
Well, he still flipped over a table in the market,
It's
so.
And I think
he was still going through a human experience as well, and that's ties back to what I was talking about. It's just
never heard about I was actually reading about this not even that long ago, like the early childhood of Jesus. Like it's kind of like it's part of the Apocrypha here. It's been stricken out of the canon, but there are like early accounts of Jesus. He was out there like turning children to stone on the playground and stuff. Like you did not want to mess with Jesus when he was a prepubescent child. He was a danger.
No, I didn't go that far into it. I'll have to go into that Because
no,
when I read, I was like, you always wonder what happened to him between this point and this point. But then I started to do research too, and I was like, wow, this only gets worse.
He went through his rebellious phase.
That's going to be the thumbnail for this whole interview. Jesus turned babies into stone.
Other kids,
Jay Anderson.
I don't feel so bad now. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna use that too. I'll be like, oh yeah, you thought all that stuff in school. Jesus is out turning kids into stone. All right.
Stone babies. Stone babies.
Yeah. Wild stuff. Wild stuff.
Good to know.
So, have you had experiences with psychedelics? I'm dying to know. Like, and if so, would you be willing to elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, like I would say I've kind of flirted with psychedelics experientially and dived in a lot intellectually. So, I'm definitely very keenly aware of my control issues with things like psychedelics still. Like I haven't gotten over that onset anxiety and like trying to almost fight the experience when it starts to creep up. So there's definitely like I didn't expect it in myself, but it's definitely a control issue that I need to try and face. And I think I need I honestly haven't done DMT yet, but I feel like that's better for me. I feel like a strong experience on something that's going to come on without me really having a choice, because like the drawn out onset of things like mushrooms, I've had a few experiences with mushrooms which have been really beneficial for me. And like once I'm actually in the state, I'm okay. But there's always that anxiety at the beginning. Like I always fight the feeling. And I don't know what it is about me, man. Like I want to get over that because I recognize the benefit of psychedelics so much. But I think because I have intellectualized it and researched it and listened to more Terence McKenna, that's probably healthy for any individual.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like he's absorbed into my psyche a little bit. He just haunts my brain. So I've gone so deep into it that I think I've just scared myself because I know how deep the implications are, and because I talk about what we might be in and this fractal reality, and I'm like, right, well, am I ready to die for a few hours? Here we go. Like
that's what I said. Here goes nothing.
There's so many people that
my teacher on a weekend. My teacher Renato told me one time, he's like, man, what's the worst that's gonna happen? You're gonna die? I'm like an ego death? He's like, no. What's the worst that's gonna happen? You're gonna die? Like, like your body die? That's the worst that's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, maybe I want to have some goodbyes.
I didn't process that for a while until many ceremonies later, but mine was in 2016. I'm 44 now, so I had my awakening at 36. So kudos to you. Like, I just wish I would have, had my breakthrough a lot earlier than I did. It took me going 2 deployments to Iraq, PTSD, divorce, and having deep-seated depression and PTSD issues that pushed me to my awakening. I wasn't a seeker. I was a desperation guy when I went to ayahuasca, but had my breakthrough then and drank, had tons of ceremonies after that, both psychedelic and non-psychedelic. Have you ever heard of a Uwipi ceremony?
No.
That's something you should do some research into. It's non-psychedelic, but it's a Lakota ceremony. They're very rare. If you're ever in the States and want to experience one, I can take you to one.
Awesome.
And I'll take you on the res, and you can experience it, and then try to process that for a while. But yeah, they're basically kind of like a Native American seance in a way. That's where people meet Bigfoot. Bigfoot's or Sasquatch is very connected to that ceremony. I've had experience with that and, the ceremony in general. But yeah, that invite is ever open if you're in Colorado and want to experience it.
I appreciate it, and I've always wanted to come out to Colorado, so that's definitely something I'll take you up on. And something that Terence McKenna said that I think is so true about psychedelic experiences versus traditional practice is, he'd say that no one goes to the ashram with their knees knocking. Like it's the DMT experience, it's the ayahuasca where you have to take a deep breath and brace yourself because you know that you're going to have this profound experience. So like there is something to be respectful and reverent of when it comes to having these experiences. And I don't really understand people that can just go out to a rave or a party and like take 5 grams of mushrooms and just be like, woo, like that is so outside of my personal, like, I would just be so overwhelmed in that situation. But yeah, no, I respect them so much. And I've done, so much research into especially psilocybin. I think that this is such a critical component of our own evolution. I think the stoned ape theory is such a fantastic proposition, maybe not the only answer, but certainly a provocative proposition for this incredible growth in the human brain. And especially, I would say, like this early proto-culture shamanism, this psychedelic taking shamanism before we fully formed into civilization. You look at the stained glass windows of monotheistic churches with their incredible fractal geometry, and this all comes back from those early explorers of psychedelic states who came out of these places after seeing these geometries and hearing these tones and writing it down, and it got passed down from tribe to tribe to tribe, and eventually became the sacred geometry and the gematria and the Kabbalism. And these things are ancient key kind of like source codes for reality. I think this is what we're discovering, and that's what's so exciting about kind of the bleeding edge of modern science now, is they're tapping into this and going, oh my god, it's all fundamental geometry, it's all mathematical exquisite patterns. And it's like, oh, so they were right, these people thousands of years ago were right. It's just that intuition usually comes without evidence, right? So like the intuition got there first. These shamans, they figured it out, they came back with this information, they taught it through the mystical practice. But because we live in this empirical, scientific, reductionist, Newtonian world where we have to break it down, we have to look at it and go, well, this is the piece. Because we haven't found the piece, we dismiss it. But we're about to find the piece, man. Like with quantum computation and artificial intelligence, like we're going to find that piece. And we're going to go, oh, okay, cool, they were right. And that might change into spirit science, spirit technology. Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah. On that note, I was just going to say we are due to take top of the hour 5-minute break, and I didn't want to. I thought maybe we could cut it off right there because that's fascinating. I'd love to come right back to that point if you don't mind. So is everybody good if we go into just a 5-minute break? And
yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. So let's see. I'm gonna get it. I'm getting better at this.
Take the journey, come on, let's go.
I should.
Oh yeah, where the stars and secrets flow. Subnation X radios glow. In the night, we'll ride the show into the unknown, where mysteries are shown. Dance to the beat we own. Come with us and let it go. Night sky whispers in the dark. Secret trails will leave a mark. Follow close, ignite that spark. We're on a ride, it's just the start. Into the unknown, where mysteries are shown. Dance to the beat we own. Come with us and let it go. Feel the rhythm, feel the night. Every heartbeat, pure delight. Mysteries come to light. Hold on tight, it's out of sight. Into the unknown, where mysteries are shown. Dance to the beat we own. Come with us and let it go. Feel the rhythm, feel the night. Every heartbeat, pure delight. Mysteries come to light. Hold on tight, it's out of sight. Into the unknown, where mysteries are shown. Dance to the beat we own. Come with us and let it go. let's go. Feel it. Oh yeah. Where the stars and secrets flow. So bright. Subnation X radio's glow. Oh no. In the night we'll ride the show into the unknown. Unknown. Where mysteries are shown. Shown. Into the free we own. Come with us and let it go. 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 In the music, now let's go to town, town. Oh yeah, cryptic groove, feel the beat, beat. Paranormal vibes, move your feet, feet. Disclosure in the air, can you feel, feel? Dance with the sacreds, make it real, real. Dance with the unknown, feel the groove, groove. Aliens and mysteries, always on the move, move. Sasquatch in the spotlight, let's get down, down. Truth in the music, now let's go to town, town. Oh yeah, cryptic groove, feel the beat, beat. Paranormal vibes, move your feet, feet. Disclosure in the air, can you feel, feel? Dance with the secrets, make it real, real. Dance with the unknown, feel the groove, groove. Aliens and mysteries, always on the move, move. Sasquatch in the spotlight, let's get down, down. Truth in the music, now let's go to town, town. Oh yeah, cryptic groove, feel the beat, beat. Paranormal vibes, move your feet, feet. Disclosure in the air, can you feel, feel? Dance with the secrets, make it real, real. Shadows to light, we find a way, way. Dancing with secrets, night to day, day. Off-world stories, let them play, play. Truth in the dance, come what may, may. Oh yeah. In the shadows of the night, where the secrets come to light, voices echo through the space, whispers of a hidden place, black ops running through the veins, mysteries that break the chains, eyes wide open looking in, where do our dreams begin? Let's talk about beyond.
Okay, we are back from break.
Welcome back. Man, I didn't get a chance to say earlier, happy solstice, Jay. You know, I believe, like I said, I believe nothing happens by chance. So having you on the show today and having this conversation, you know, on solstice, you know, every day from here on out is light, you know, and I think that, you know, as below, as above, so below, and as out is same within. So if we really take this energy, you know, I talk about the holidays a lot and harnessing, you know, that collective manifestation energy. That's why, you know, magic thing happened for people around the holidays, you know, because whether it's Hanukkah, you know, Kwanzaa, Christmas, or however you're celebrating, you know, these holiday seasons, it's a lot of love, generosity, and like collective energy going forward. So if you know the correct times to tap into that, you know, you can really, you know, start working with that energy a lot more. But yeah, happy solstice, man. I'm this conversation has been fascinating so far, and I can't see what else unfolds. I've gabbed a lot, so I'm going to give the floor to Nicole for a little bit and see what she's got.
Well, no, I'm really interested in Jay, like some of the, I mean, you post some of the stuff is just like, how does he do this? How do you research all this? How does this, like, you know, how are you putting your dots together? Because you come out with some phenomenal stuff. You really do. So I'd really just like to hear more from you and like your journey through this, and how other people, I guess, can kind of hop aboard and help out or get the word out, or projects, or anything like that. We would love to be a part of that. So yeah, take it away and keep going. Tell us about Jay. Did we lose him? Oh, he's muted. Oh, sorry, Jay. There you go. I'll mute you now. I want to let me unmute his mic. Oh, yeah, I don't know what's going on with this mic. I tried to unmute it. Can you unmute it, Drew? Are you able to?
I don't have any controls over here.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Jay, are you able to unmute yourself? Let's see here. I'm going to take you off real quick and then put you back on. Okay. I don't want to do that. Okay.
So having connection issues.
Yeah, it sounds like you might have connection issues. But yeah, Jay is so fascinating. Some of the stuff that he has done is just unbelievable. So we got him back. We got Jay with audio.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
Can you hear me?
We
yes.
can. Can you hear us?
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
your voice is, sorry guys. I was trying to hear you, but your voice is now really jagged. So I didn't properly hear what you were saying.
Oh, I apologize for that. No, I was just saying that you've done just such a broad spectrum of things that I'm just curious, to keep going on with your story on how it built and, kind of got you to where you are today. And you have so much, so many projects, and you think in your terms of thinking, I'm thinking, man, how does he do all this research? It's just like, you just keep going and pumping it. So, yeah, carry on with your story. And if there's any way that you need the help of the public, or we could, be a part of that, we would love to do that. So just keep that in mind. Are you able to? Yeah. So we got your.
Well, I do have I when it comes to actually doing my research, I'm very lucky at this point because this has become my job. This is my full-time job, and one of the reasons why I'm able to do that is because I do have a lot of people that support me through things like Patreon. So if you do want to sign up, anyone listening that wants to become a part of actually assisting me and my platform growth, you can sign up to be a Patreon. That's on Project Unity. Just look at the links in the description boxes of my videos, and you get access to a Discord server. So I'm very active, and we talk in, the Discord server. Lots of research gets exchanged. So it's not like a one-man band. I have a lot of people who send me snippets and send me things to check out, and I always try and follow threads that I find interesting. So yeah, I'm very plugged in, especially on X, because X is where all of this information comes in straight away. So I mean, I'm very plugged in every day, looking at different things. I have particular subjects that I'm very interested in. Specifically at the moment, I'm very interested in the psychoacoustic architecture of the ancient past. So that's architecture that has been deliberately engineered to produce certain harmonics that change the state of consciousness, that change the state of frequency in the brain. And we're discovering that in all of these different ancient temples and ancient sites. So I'm actually going out to the island of Malta in the new year. And one of the reasons why I'm going out to Malta is because I'm actually obsessed right now with an ancient site that's on that island called the Hypogeum, which is this incredible multi-tier subterranean site that was apparently chiseled out of the limestone, they say with bone antler tools, but this is an incredibly sophisticated, multi-layered, geometrically engineered site that they've found resonates at 110 hertz, concentrates into this kind of nexus point of the site that they call the oracle room, and 110 hertz is the hertz bandwidth that shifts your brainwave into a more meditative state, into like a theta state of function. So this entire complex, which completely contradicts all of the other archaeological sites in Malta. Like there's lots of different amazing and very interesting sites in Malta, but this is the only one that's underground at this level of scale. And the whole thing, just demonstrable through the evidence. This isn't even conjecture or guesswork. Based on the acoustic research and the acoustic evidence that they've gathered, this thing is a gigantic acoustic resonance chamber. It's a huge underground musical instrument, if you want to call it that. And they would hum and chant these tones. And they found that there was this complete kind of encapsulation of the harmonics in this one room called the Oracle Room. And that's where everyone would gather. So, you know, this is an incredible site. Also, with that site in particular, that's where they found the weird skulls, the elongated skulls that had no seam down the center of the skull. So they like that seam that exists on every single human being, because it has to exist because of the growth of the skull as you get older and the hardening of the skull. That doesn't exist on those skulls, which were found in the Hypogeum. So you've got this incredibly sophisticated underground resonance technology of some form that just so happens to be the place where abnormal human skulls, who knows, were discovered. So yeah, I'm going off to Malta soon to actually look at that place, and you're not allowed to video inside it. It's it's very restricted. You can't take audio devices, can't take camera devices. You're only allowed in for an hour with like a guided tour, and 70% of the site is locked off to the public. So this is a very guarded area of Malta that they don't really want people looking at. But this is an area that I'm really diving into, is this kind of ancient implication of sound technology. You go back to what Nikola Tesla said about, you know, vibration and energy. This is what they seem to be tapping into. I think they were tapping into a harmonic science that used stone, like these limestone blocks, because limestone is a natural amplifier of acoustic resonance. The Greeks knew this. They built these incredible amphitheaters that resonated all around the entirety of the stage. Like everyone in every corner could hear even a whisper because they used limestone. And these buildings, these subterranean complexes that all seem to have acoustic engineering, they all use limestone. So I think we're dealing with just the kind of like, you know, sidestep a little bit from the UFO stuff. This all ties in my opinion. You know, Atlantis and an ancient civilization, the Sumerian story. I think that these things tie into ufology and what this might actually be implicating for the human species in terms of, you know, genetic engineering and all of these different things that we discuss. This precursor technology, this kind of like little echo of something that we've now just basically turned into tourist attractions. You know, go look at the Great Pyramid of Giza and take a photo with it. We've completely underestimated what these things are, in my opinion. And the harmonic technology, the harmonic science of the ancients, that to me, that's a big secret. I think that, you know, I'll shut up in a second, but I'll just say this, that I really think
keep going.
Keep going, man.
Like, no, I really do think that the harmonic sciences, like these sacred sciences, that was basically stricken from history when the Roman Catholic Church came into power, the Vatican came into power, you know, the burning of the Library of Alexandria. We lost so much of this ancient wisdom and technology.
Sure. Yeah, I've been leading, you know, psychedelic ceremonies, leading them. You know, I play the didgeridoo. You know, the basis behind anyone that correctly serves psychedelics is playing some type of instrument. You know, and the more instruments you play, like, you know, this one of the crazy things that I learned when I was really learning how to serve the medicine was being able to see my words, what I was either words or vibrations, whether it was coming from didgeridoo or actually words. They become, you could see them deep in the ayahuasca space, and then you could start actually painting the picture, and your voice follows what you're painting. It's your voice takes a backseat to your consciousness that you see inside your head. But so I totally agree that you know, that frequency of vibration is, and the frequency in particular, you know, we're only seeing a small little pinhole. Like what we're hearing, what we're seeing, all of our senses is only seeing a small little pinhole of what's actually here. You know, like I had LASIK a few months ago, and my vision was messed up for a few days. And during the LASIK, I saw some really crazy things. Like as a laser was going through and doing its work in my eye, seeing a lot of crazy, almost visions. But you know, it could just in the blink of an eye, you could be cut off from just that little pinhole. But there's so much more out there. You know, like I talk a lot when I do my interviews and stuff, talk about how dogs can hear a dog whistle. Does that mean it's not there because we don't hear it? No, it's still there. and that spectrum goes, I believe, to an infinite amount on spectrums that we can't understand on all levels, on all our senses. And that's what we see when we start, messing with psychedelics. Like I tell people all along, like I didn't start out as a UFO researcher. I was a veteran. I went to ayahuasca because I had to, and ayahuasca opened me up, and then I started having UFO experiences after the psychedelics. After I started integrating my psychedelic experiences, that's when I started having experiences in the sky and eventually face to face. So I can't agree more. That's all connected. I think, I noticed going through, I was doing some research and listening to some of your podcasts yesterday and seeing some of the people that we have a lot of the same acquaintances. Grant Cameron is the first one that gave me a big interview, and he's kind of one that started to open the door into the UFO community for me. And I had to fight my way into people kind of believe my story, because it started off with psychedelics. And I wish, looking back, I would have, talked a little bit a few years before I started to share my psychedelic experiences, because it took a lot of people some time to really start listening to what I had to say, because they kind of wrote me off. And it's kind of interesting, a psychedelic coming from the psychedelic space or community and trying to integrate into a UFO community and getting almost racism in a way, for lack of a better terms, like racism in the industry, because of what I was experiencing was written off as psychedelic hallucinations, when I think all of it's very key, is part of a much bigger picture, and ultimately the evolution of humanity.
We should invite Jay and May. Grant Cameron's going to be there.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Eisenhower or Laura Eisenhower, like the whole 9 yards. They're hacking the Matrix with DMT in Colorado. So when we get the dates figured out, we'll shoot them to you, Jay.
Yeah, it's interesting that that kind of situation has come up with that guy saying that you can essentially see the matrix code when you take DMT and you put a diffracting laser on a wall and you can look through it. What you said about people dismissing the psychedelics, people dismiss psychedelic experiences just on the basis of psychedelic experiences, you know what I mean, regardless of UFO phenomena. I mean, that's another layer. You add on the fact, like, hey, you can see flying saucers, all you got to do is take 5 grams of these mushrooms. People are going to be like, yeah, of course, buddy, of course. But at the same time, people are dismissive of psychedelic experiences in general. They just go, well, that's just your brain. It's just your brain making, little communications and little memories. And I'm sorry, I disagree with that. I really do. I think that it in my opinion, what this is, and it kind of ties into parts of quantum biology, which is an emerging field really that's going to get its time in the sun in the next few years, I think, as we get deeper into our own biological cellular system and see how this connects to the quantum fields. When you're looking at a psychedelic experience, I think what you're doing is you're reducing the default neural chatter, right? So it's like meditation. You're silencing that default neural chatter. You're silencing that default perceptual field. And because of that, things filter in. And I think that this is a quantum state. I think that you're essentially putting your consciousness into a superposition state. It's entangling with larger fields of information that are always around us all the time. We're basically, floating in an ocean of electromagnetism, which you could just translate into information once you start breaking it down into little bits of energy. So we're in fields of information. We're bubbled off in our default neural perception, our corridor of reality. This is real. This is solid. I wake up, I brush my teeth, I go to, that's our normal day to day. And it has to be, because that's how we experience linear time and that's how we go through human experience. But if you want to get a little bit of a flavor of what's going on outside of that human experience, you need to reduce down that default neural chatter. You need to get rid of it. And so I see a psychedelic, DMT, psilocybin. These are things that reduce that default mode. It turns that default mode down or off. And when that happens, all of this information is kind of bombarding us all the time that we filter out. Our brain filters it out because we need to focus on being a human in a human experience. That goes away. All of those things break down. And suddenly you're encountering incredibly profound knowledge, incredibly profound entities, incredibly profound geometry, which we're now finding out is basically just the code of a mathematical universe. So the physicists in the world are having to scratch their heads and go, well, how do we not call this God? How do we not call this God as long as possible, because it's really starting to feel a lot like God? And the quote from Dean Radin from Ions is brilliant. I'm pretty sure it was Dean Radin, where he said the universe is starting to look less like a giant machine and more like a giant thought. And I think it is. It's like it's like an ephemeral, momentary simulation hologram. You could just say that that's a thought in the mind of a larger intellect than ourselves, that we're all a part of, but just a little fraction of that experience, right? Each individually. And when we shut down the default mode, when we shut down that default neural network, we connect a little bit more to that wider intellect.
So you had a documentary come out on Netflix, correct?
No, I wish I did.
Did that come out yet? Well, I thought you were the one that was. I read something about it.
She's looking at a different timeline.
Has someone put out a documentary and I haven't got a royalty payment?
I thought you were in the process of putting it together. You were not, because it pops up. I even looked to make sure, like the secret.
I've been in a perpetual state of saying I'll do a documentary for about 5 years, but I've never really come out and actually done it, because I've had lots of ideas. But no, there is another Jay. In fact, there's a couple of Jays out there in this UFO world. There's J. Christopher King. He's very active and he's got a lot of things going on production wise. In fact, I think he's even got something with Apple TV right now. So it could be that Jay. Might be that Jay.
I thought it was something that you wrote going back at that, about the core secrets or something.
Core Secrets was my idea for a documentary. I was always planning on doing kind of like a long format look at, well, essentially it started off with the Admiral Wilson leaks, the Admiral Wilson, Eric Davis notes. That was kind of a core interest of mine, and that was what put me in touch with Richard Dolan and people early on, and they were very interested in me doing this production, but I never actually finished it.
Okay. I've always looked for it.
I wish it was coming out on Netflix, but I just, I haven't got that far with it yet.
Well, maybe it will now. Maybe.
Maybe. Who knows? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we just had to voice it. We just had to bring it out to existence.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the issue, actually, to be honest, the issue is that my thoughts and opinions have evolved and changed so much over the last kind of 3 or 4 years that if I had to look back on it, I'd probably change a lot of what I'd say now. So it's like at some point, and I love doing creative things. Like I love doing video projects. It's one of my passions. I like video editing, and I'm very musical, so I like making things dramatic, and I love doing that kind of stuff. So I actually want to do some long form projects. I've got so many interviews where I could cut out a little bit of someone talking, and it's something I'd like to do. It's just I think when you're trying to kind of keep interviews going and you're doing other things at the same time, you need to set aside some space for a long project like that, and I just haven't given myself that space. So I mean, at some point I'd love to do it.
That'd be awesome.
It'll happen when it's right,
Yeah, for real. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's out there. The hype's out
I
there.
I do want to do a lot more traveling in 2025 to specifically these places of historical relevance that I'm really interested in, and do some mini docs. I'm going to film all of Malta and hopefully turn that into a pretty cool looking documentary. I'm still trying to figure out if there's going to be some way I could sew a camera button into my shirt or something, so that when I go into
you have to get one of those pens, or
I really want to film in there. They will not let you. It's like there's literally a ancient History Channel video on that with terrible video, and there's some good photos online of the Hypogeum, but yeah, you cannot film in there. It's such a mystery, that place.
Oh, they probably have the internet and everything all blocked down too. Yeah, you wonder.
Yeah. So have you ever experienced channeling, like yourself experienced channeling, what you would consider channeling? Have you ever, and lucid dreaming, have you ever considered lucid dreaming? And to add on, before I let you run with it, have you ever had anything physical come out of a dream, and give a physical representation, a portent, which Grant Cameron would call it?
Yeah, never had anything physical out of a lucid dream. I've had a few different experiences of sleep paralysis, which is about as lucid as I've gotten. I've never had control over my dreams really, but I have had some lucid dreams, which are actually not great. They're pretty unnerving. They usually are. Which one of them was accompanied by very strong vibration, which I know what that is. I know that my essence was kind of oscillating between being in my body and being out of my body at that point, when you get that incredibly high pitched tone and the vibration inside your body. So yeah, I mean, I've had some weird dream style experiences, but nothing crazy. And what was the other one? There was one other thing on that list.
Channeling, or what you would consider channeling.
So I mean, in two instances, I'd say yes. Although I'm not one of those. I'm personally, I don't go around saying I'm a channeler or anything like that. Like I kind of get uncomfortable with those titles because I think everyone can do this stuff, and I get worried about, like, you know, I'm not trying to be special. But I think about, I'm a guitarist. Like, I've played guitar since I was 7 years old, and like there's a lot of guitarists in my family. And that's definitely a flow state thing for me, where I'll be playing the guitar and I'll just stop thinking about what chords I'm playing. And that's always the best music, when I'm locked out, not thinking, it's all flowing. That's always the best music. And it does happen when I'm writing as well, when I feel very inspired to write down an idea, and it'll be like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'll just have like a little bit of an idea, and I'll write a sentence. And before I know it, I'm just writing page after page after page, and I'm barely thinking about what I'm typing. And usually when I put that stuff together and record it, that's the stuff that resonates the most with people. And I find that fascinating, because I like, for me, you're taking a backseat. I think that is plugging into the unified field or the Akashic record. You know, you're a conduit for something at that point. And I only say that because I've noticed that when I'm in those states and I actually write those thoughts down and I put it into a format and I show it to the world via my YouTube channel, those are the things that really do seem to resonate with people. So for me, I'm like, right, well, you know, I'm happy that I was able to do that, but it's not really coming through me. So I would call that a flow state or a download or channeling. But I think it's actually just you opening up the aperture of your own mind. You know, it's always there, that channel. Like, I kind of consider the imagination an actual bridge to another dimension almost. Like, inside your head is access to this dimensional space that can't really be understood. And I can think of an orange right now, and I can see an orange in my head, even though I'm not seeing one in front of me, and there's certainly not one on the screen. So that's what I'm talking about, this weird space, this weird dimensional space. That seems to be where we plug into information. And that's where intuitive geniuses like Nikola Tesla and all these people, they were operating with that wider aperture. So I think we can all widen it. We can all widen it. But are you trying? Are you actually trying to do that? If not, then, you know, you're probably, you know, not going to have as many insights as someone who's actually attempting to open their consciousness up and is doing the meditation or is doing the things that are needing to cleanse the body. And yeah, so I think we're all capable of doing that stuff, like downloading and channeling and all of these things. And I'd say it comes out for me in guitar playing sometimes, and it comes out for me when I'm very intuitively inspired to write down an idea.
Beautiful. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You know, I go into flow states definitely with the didgeridoo, and that's, you know, it's a combination of, you know, basically ecstatic breath work or whatever, you know, or labored breath work, and then, you know, just it's pretty amazing. And I know what the flow state feels like for a musician, so I can totally relate. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I've channeled before, and the reason I asked that is because I see a lot of similarities in, you know, things that you say and what we're talking about. But I've was channeling, part of my growth pattern. I went through this process of channeling. I would channel Archangel Michael, Jesus, Palladian, and one time I was channeling Osiris, and I was going back and forth and like channeling Osiris and Jesus back and forth, like both at the same time. And finally, I was always coherent during this channeling, like this a verbal channeling I used to do, and I was coherent during this channeling, and Drew kind of from the back, like consciously asked, like, you know, both you guys sound like the same vibration. You know, it sounds like the same vibration coming, and that's when everything stopped. I haven't channeled anything other than source since then. And the first channeling come through in this message was, I'm the source of all creation. And because I was also questioning at the time in my mind, just a thought of why people call this thing source. Why is that? Why are people calling this thing source? And then it spoke to me. It said, I'm the source of all creation. You are the creator through the power of manifestation. Step into your power to facilitate the upcoming evolutionary shift. And that's when everything started taking a whole nother change. You know, I went from the ceremonies and I'm at a loss for words right now, but the ceremonies that led me to that understanding, I went from relying on them, and now I'm just giving them gratitude as part of my path, if it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely is. So what's your take on the world these days? Like, where are we going? What do you see all of this? I mean, especially over in the United States. I'm sure that you guys kind of get a drift of a different, I know the media outlets and everything, and I've seen your posts. You're pretty good, like keeping up. But what do you think the focus is on the United States? Why isn't other people, like the other countries, why aren't they like at this point of disclosure, or are they? We just don't hear about it.
Well, I mean, the French government was pretty open a number of years ago about their interest in this. I think the UKG, like my government, we're very good at being quiet and diplomatic in terms of British sensibility and how we engage politically. So I think that we're probably watching America and just seeing where it goes and how we're going to address it if it becomes a thing that's discussed more commonly. But I think that as well with the American discussion, it's not necessarily got the wheels that we thought it would have. Like the momentum is kind of falling off now. There's only a handful of people in the congressional arena that are actively engaged, and they seem to be losing steam. I mean, my God, I've talked to Congressman Burchett so many times over the years, and it just feels like the energy is starting to dissipate. I think that relying on the government, especially the US government, any, Western superpower, Five Eyes nation government, trusting them to be transparent on something they've clearly kept classified for decades is not going to yield any fruit, in my opinion. I think that this attempt, I have my suspicions, like I really do. I have my suspicions about trusting these national security people that have just popped out of the woodwork over the last few years and have just taken it in this very specific direction of national security. And I understand that there is a certain level of, political language that needs to be used to kind of get this into the congressional hearings. And we've done that now. And it's still just a national security threat, sovereign airspace, threat. And, I don't necessarily trust that narrative. I don't necessarily trust the people who are pushing it, because I started off extremely supportive of things like To the Stars Academy when it first came around. Stars. Well, I mean, it just seemed so incredible at the time. You know what? It really did. And it was like, wow, well, here's the thing. And also it was very recent off of the back of my experiences. So it was such a perfect kind of storm of like, well, I've had these experiences. The world seems to be responding. Like this Tom DeLonge guy, and now like To the Stars, and it was all very enticing. And I think over the years, the kind of grandeur of that has fallen off. I've also had the opportunity to be connected to people in these kind of networks over the years, and I've kind of learned just how they are off record, how they are away from the screen. And I just, I feel like this whole thing has been placed into the hands of a group of people from the national security world. And I don't know if they've got the right intentions. I mean, they certainly have their connections to strange groups and Scientology and occult churches, and there's a lot of Gnosticism and these very interesting belief systems that are shared amongst these guys. And I have, some very talented researchers who I'm good friends with who look at this whole thing and go, I kind of feel like they're doing a great work. Like it feels like they're trying to manifest their own belief system into reality, and they're using the UFO kind of platform as their way of doing it. Now, the reason I say that is because you think about, for example, like Tom DeLonge, right? When Tom DeLonge first came out and started talking about this subject, he was actually in Stephen Greer's camp. He was originally very tight with Stephen Greer, and Greer was having him over to his house, and they were going out and doing CE5s. And then once Tom started getting his connections in the Pentagon, and he started having meetings with people like, McCasland, General McCasland, and then Lou Elizondo, of course, and Chris Mellon, suddenly he switches tune to, oh, these are bugs. They're bugs.
And parasites. Yeah, I know.
And it just kind of feel like, no offense to Tom, because I've spoken to Tom. He's a lovely guy. I've been a fan of Blink-182 since I was a kid, and I was really lucky to have like a private chat with him of a group of other researchers. And there's no doubt that he's really, really into this subject and wants to see it kind of come out into the light. But what I think happened with Tom personally is that I think he went, well, I kind of know this because he basically admitted it anyway on the radio on like Fade to Black back in 2016, where he said that he was approaching these guys with the intention of being of service. He wanted to be of service, and he was like, look, here's my idea, but what do you want to do with it? And so he kind of walked into the Pentagon, into the DOD, into the lion's den, right, into the national security labyrinth, and was like, use me. Use me. I will be your conduit into the public. I'll be your interface into the public. I've got, there are literally WikiLeaks emails between him and John Podesta talking about how this is more about gearing the new generation against all this anti-authoritarian, anti-military, anti-government. We want to change that. We want to change that through our secret machines books. And his whole thing now is that these people who've been keeping the secrecy, they're heroes, and they weren't keeping it from us. They were keeping it from the world because they have to keep it from the enemy. They have to keep it from the threat, the alien, the one that's trying to harm us. So it was never about keeping it from us. It was all about keeping us safe, because if we knew, then it would tell these other beings. Now, my problem with that is you can't say that and in the same breath say that they have powers beyond this dimension that can control the fabric of space and time, because I don't care who you are, no one's keeping secrets from them at that point, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's locked in a skiff within a skiff within a skiff, they're finding it because they exist in a different dimensional space. So you can't say, which he does, that they're beyond space and time, and also say that we're keeping secrets from you to keep you safe because we're actually keeping secrets from them. So there's contradictory stories at play. I really feel, with all due respect to Tom, that he went into the Pentagon and they gave him this really good national security template, and that's what we're running with. And I don't really trust it.
Wasn't Hal Puthoff the one that he's the one that the To the Stars Academy, and then Tom DeLonge came in, and he's closely associated with Scientology.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, you know all that. Yeah. So then I was watching the group. I actually got offered an NDA by Matt Tiller, who was in his Angels and Airway band with Tom DeLonge. And they said, you're in the privy to know. If I signed a 5-year NDA, that I could know. And I was like, yeah, I'll know what you want me to know. And that's okay, because I'd rather continue to speak uncensored than I would. I won't do that. And so that was kind of the end of that. And he really came on. I mean, I thought so too. I had big hopes, and then I started to see the NSA, the CIA, counterintelligence. Like, I'm like, we can't trust any of this. Like, what about the experiencers and our disclosure? Now, check this out. I don't know how familiar you are with Stephen Bassett, but he came on. We did an interview with him maybe a couple of weeks ago. And when he came on, he started talking about how the government wants us to post disclosure. And I've followed him, and I've heard some of the stuff that he said along the way. But now he's saying that they're done with so quote unquote like non-civilian experiencers, and as soon as this happens, that they're going to come out for the civilian experiencers. And there's this whole like plan. And I noticed, like, when I searched and Googled like my name under AI, and it all of a sudden pulls up everything from comments to any show that I was on. I mean, it had quotations on me. I'm like, I couldn't write that much stuff about myself if I wanted to, or organize it. I'm like, so, and he's claiming that there are government lists. So I'm just wondering if you heard anything about that. Nobody's talking about it. I think I was the only one that had their mouth dropped to the ground, because I thought, oh, here we go. Now I'm going to be, hopefully that's just like one of their scare tactics, and I'm not going to end up in some weird lab being probed and whatever. But yeah, he was singing a totally different tune on it. I couldn't believe it. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. There's just a lot. I mean, the thing with ufology is there's a lot of campfire stories, more than enough campfire stories, right? So, like,
no joke, right?
Yeah, like, it's kind of the commerce and trade of ufology. So I mean, like, okay, cool, there's something that's been said, but we'll wait and see if it actually turns around and becomes a thing. With experiences, with removing experiences from the conversation, I can understand from like a bureaucratic point of view with this particular like method of trying to talk about UFOs, why they wouldn't jump into experiences initially. And I can understand that. But again, I don't really trust this disclosure process. I think it's kind of like a fake smoke and mirror type of a disclosure process. And I'm not. I don't belong in any camps. So Stephen Greer was definitely.
No.
Like, no, but
Yeah.
he was like the first catalyst for me. He really was. Like, when I didn't know anything about ufology. I was shown Unacknowledged, this documentary, and it really opened my eyes up to it. So and it introduced the concept of CE5, which then I started trying to do, not his particular method, but just the basic concept of doing CE5. And that's how I had my experiences. So I know he's telling the truth about CE5. I know that's right. I don't care what people say. I know he charges a shit ton of money for it. And yeah, there are questionable things that Greer does. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's a saint. But I think that Greer, honestly, was kicking down doors. He was doing the national press conference. He had a whole team of whistleblowers. He was making moves. He was getting millions of views through Netflix documentaries. Like, let's not underestimate how much he was basically the guy at the front, okay, on this whole thing. And then they poach people from his team and put them into To the Stars Academy. Dr. Gary Nolan, he was part of Greer's team. Tom DeLonge, he was on Greer's team. Hal Puthoff, he gave Greer testimony back in the day. Like, so many of these people were working with Greer, talking with Greer, shaking hands with Greer. And then once Tom DeLonge went to the Pentagon and presented this template of To the Stars Academy, they basically kneecapped him. I mean, the way it went down with like the Atacama humanoid and everything, that's shady stuff. Yeah. That's what got me blocked by Gary Nolan. When I brought up the Atacama humanoid on X, that's when Gary Nolan blocked me. Although Gary Nolan has blocked like pretty much 90% of ufology at this point.
I don't really know you're doing something good when that happens.
I don't really blame him for that. I kind of want to block 90% of ufology sometimes, but yeah, like he took issue with me bringing up the Atacama humanoid, and that's a very strange situation. He was on Greer's team, and then the day before the premiere of the documentary, he comes out and says this is human, and then like a year later at a conference, he says he can't definitively say which way it is, and so he doesn't want to comment. So he tanked the documentary, he kneecapped the documentary, and then he moves over to the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. So like, there was all this shady swapping and switching of people and alliances. And I honestly do think that despite his shortcomings, I think Greer represented this uncontrollable asset. Like he's saying no. He wants to bring legal consequences to the black budget, to the special access program world. He's not backing down. And I think that this was basically a method of removing this uncontrollable, dangerous asset that wants to just bring this out. What do we call it? Catastrophic disclosure, right? That's the kind of disclosure that Greer was pushing, catastrophic disclosure. And this more managed, this more channeled, bureaucratically handled, government stamped and approved thing. This is the template that we've been given instead of that. And I don't know if it's a better template, to be honest.
I don't know. Time's gonna tell. We do have one question. We do have one question from the chat that been blowing me up on my personal. Where do you have your own music, and if so, where can the people find it? And this will lead in, and you can lead this right into wherever we can find you at Project Unity on X and all that. Give out those. I know you're running short on time, so yeah. If you have music out there, where can we find it?
I don't really have. I used to DJ, so I was really into my DJing for a while. I actually played at like Ministry of Sound in London, which is a pretty big club in London, and like that was like part of my life story for a bit. So I have a DJ account, but I like honestly never upload to that, and I sporadically have uploaded random pieces of guitar music online, and I did record a hip hop track in New York, which was pretty cool because I'm a massive hip hop head. So like these things are floating in the ether, but I'm not going to bother linking anyone to that stuff. You can just check me out on Project Unity on YouTube and on X, which is where I'm really active, especially since YouTube has decided to demonetize me recently for no good reason whatsoever. You can find me on the Project Unity. That's on X. So the Project Unity. That's where you'll find me.
I'll get those all out there too, and get those in the descriptions everywhere, and make sure. So if you just get me a list, and I can get them out. But yeah, I loved it. Now I'm gonna try and find this rap video. I think that'd be great.
I'll send you a link to it. Yeah,
you definitely have to.
I'm gonna meditate. I'm gonna meditate to it.
I'm gonna collapse. I'm gonna have to bust your rhymes at the end.
No, it's been really good, guys.
But Jay Anderson, Project Unity, thank you so much for being here. Jay, we have to do this again soon. And yeah,
Totally.
it's been an amazing conversation. Thanks for everybody that joined us today. And I'm sure this is, I hope this spreads wide and far. And yeah, this has been a great conversation.
Absolutely. And yeah, Jay, we're
Thanks, guys.
definitely going to
Really
have to bring you
appreciate it.
back on because you got a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. When are you going on your trip? So just so we know we can get
Near
with you
the
after that.
beginning of February.
February?
Yeah, near the beginning of February.
I'll mark it down and then we'll try and get you on before or after. But yeah, that's great. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're
Enjoy
welcome.
the rest of your
Welcome. Have a
day.
really good time,
Yes.
guys.
Yes.
Dude, thank you so much. See ya.
Awesome.
Bye.
Take care, Jay. So,
All right, everybody, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead, Coley. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to say that I really am glad that you and Jay got together because I do see, like, I love the consciousness and all that we pull. So it really was great. So I loved
Yeah.
loved it.
You know, I
Loved
think
it.
consciousness is ultimately what's going on now. Like the psychedelic, you know, we're heading in, not to get political or anything, but we're heading into this next 4 years of this next administration heavily supporting psychedelic research and access for psychedelics. And they're heavily supporting the UFO. You know, Trump is already talking about UFOs. So no matter what party you're in, you know, look at the bigger picture. Like these next 4 years, no matter Republican or Democrat, are going to be life changing on a lot of different things. You know, and I'm excited about it. You know, I don't. You know, full disclosure, I'm not either party. You know, I believe in the higher party. You know, I don't believe in the Republican and Democrat party ruling over us. I believe in the higher power ruling over us. So, but I see these next, you know, we're going to see a lot of change, a lot of magical things coming up in the next couple of years. It was amazing conversation, you know, with Jay. I didn't really know about him till you booked. So doing the research, I kind of looked into him a little bit. Fascinating guy, and yeah,
super nice. Yeah, and he's super engaging, and that's why I think we'll definitely have to get him back on. And I love that we're doing this Saturday because then we have the UK people that we could get on, and other people that you know weren't able to do it late afternoon. So I've got some good ones lined up for too. So this will be fun. This will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good. So yeah, with that, you know, everybody enjoy the rest of their day. Get out there and take in this energy of the solstice. You know, the solstice right now. This is the day when days start getting longer. That means overall, like the bigger picture of it, light. We have more light from here on out, and just keep that in your mind. You know, keep that mantra in your mind. Every day from here on out is more light.
Absolutely. That's a great way to end it. So thank you for taking the journey into the unknown with SNX Radio, also Helix at rockradio.live. So I'll go ahead and throw in there next time. So you guys, if you do choose to download us on the radio, that you'll be able to do that coming forward. But we'd like to thank everybody who was here and listened with an open heart because you really, I mean, there's so much to learn. There's so much to learn. And, you know, it's great to have you along on this journey. Drew, love you. So on that note, is there any last words?
No, just, you know, trusting yourself. The holidays are coming up, and just like just like today is, you know, a galactic holiday, you know, a universal holiday. We have the holidays coming up, Christmas and the New Year's. The New Year's, you know, tap into that change too. That's going to be around those New Year's, and keep your eyes open for those magical things happening. Sometimes magical things happening to us, and we overlook them because we're too wrapped up in our daily lives. Keep your eyes out over today and these holiday, each and every one of these holidays, like the day before and after and the days of the holiday. Keep your eyes open for magical things happening around you. Let the universe show itself. You know, look for the universe showing itself. It's there. It's trying to speak to you. So just open your eyes and, you know, open yourself up to that vibration.
Absolutely. And Drew's great. I mean, like, reach out to him. He's like, you know, a person, like, not like a person. You're a person. I have all your stuff too. So if I missed any of your socials in the description, please let me know. So
yeah, you can, you know, not to be trashy, but you can Google me. You can find me.
Drew's everywhere.
You can find me anywhere. Just Google me.
Yeah, no, you're like you bank on interviews and stuff like that. Like you're always on. Drew, it's like one person you can call and be like, hey, last minute, hey, I'll do it. I'm like,
talk about aliens, talk about Bigfoot. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
Talk about homesteading. Gonna be
Homesteading.
coming out in season 13 of Homestead Rescue. So we were on season 11. Now we wrapped a few weeks ago on season 13, the episode that we helped out on. So two seasons of Homestead Rescue on Discovery in the book so far. So, and maybe more to come. So
yeah, you're so comfortable with the camera.
it's fun. It's fun. I love doing it. It's the crew over there, the film crew, production crew, you know, Marty, Matt, and Misty, the main people. They're all awesome. It's just always fun. You know, it doesn't even seem like work when you're doing it. But so, yeah, I'm looking forward to more stuff to come. Getting ready to go to Vegas. Flying to Vegas on the 2nd.
Are you going in for the Bob Lazar thing that's coming up?
No, I'm going to do Sean Kelly's podcast, the Digital Social Hour. So it's ranked in the top 100 on all podcasts. So it's like number 1 on self help, or top 10 in self help or something like that. But it's pretty big. He's got 11 million on Instagram. So
awesome.
He's got a big following.
Let us know when it is so we can get it out there and everybody. Is it live or is it pre-recorded?
Oh, it'd be pre-recorded, yeah. But Billy's been on there. Donald Trump Jr. He just interviewed Donald Trump Jr. the other day. So that same level of platform, and yeah, he's had all types of people on. You know, he's had tons of people on, but he
hasn't had Drew yet, so that's
it's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna do the whole live telekinesis thing. So, but he hooked me up with one of Sean Ryan's producers, and he knows him. So it's actually one of his talent scouts too for his podcast. They share the same guy, so he hooked me up with him. So, you know, it's in God's hands right now. Sean, if you're listening, like, let's do this. Joe, if you're listening, let's do this. You ain't gonna be disappointed. So, you know, pick up the phone and call me. And anyone out there that's listening, if you got any connections to these people, you know, make the connection, make a Christmas miracle happen for me. You know, I was listening to an interview I did at the beginning of the year, and I was talking, and someone asked me, what are my goals for 2024? I was like, by the end of 2024, I want to have contact with Joe and be either set up or on his podcast. So time's ticking. You know, if you're out there and you know, if you got the connection, make it happen. I'd appreciate it. So
yeah, you have to ask Jay too in a chat. He probably help you.
Yeah, maybe so. Who knows?
Well,
I know he follows them. So
yeah,
you know, it's very possible that either their people are they're watching right now, or you know, maybe they signed out when he went off. But hopefully they're still watching. You know, combat vet, near-death experiences, psychedelics, all types of different ceremonies. So let's do this if you're listening.
A wise teacher. Drew has this way. I could say something and people are like, huh? You know, like, what did she just say? But Drew does it in such a way that people are able to learn from it. So you have that gift and that talent. So I'd love to see you use it. I'm cheering you on. You know that.
It's gonna happen. You know, I've started I had you know, my cliche thing is I have a dream before something big happens like that, and I had a dream. I was like in the green room, getting ready to go either on Joe's Joe's show, and I kind of had it envisioned, kind of had this message that it was going to be Sean and Joe, and I was going to be found through Sean. Joe was going to find me through Sean. So who knows?
It will happen. It will happen.
It'll happen, yeah. And especially like when I start having dreams about stuff. I had, before Homestead Rescue, I had a dream when we were going through the application process. I woke up like gasping one night, and I woke up Ella. I was like, babe, I just had this crazy dream. I was like, the Homestead Rescue crew pulled up, and Marty stepped out, and I shook his hand, You know, I went through the whole deal, like, you know, hey, we're the Rainies from Homestead Rescue and stuff, the whole spiel they do before everything. And I had that like dream, like really real dream, you know, really real for me.
Like
And
lucid, yes.
And then when it happened in real life, like, you know, it was about a year later, but it happened. And the time frame on it's every time I've had something like that, it's always been less and less. So
it's getting that way too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be like I'd think of something and then it would happen within like 6 weeks. Now it's like I think of it, it's like almost instantly. You know, it's like stuff like that. So
it's speeding up, and that's why I said this drone thing, whether it's drones or UFOs, UAPs, whatever it is, it's sparking a conscious spark in us. You know, it's an excitement. You know, it's an excitement, it's a curiosity.
Yes.
And you can see it permeating, and that alone, no matter whether it's real or not, because ultimately, like I said over on SOR, it doesn't matter if it's from this planet or off. It's all alien, because we're not from this planet anyways. You know, we're not from this planet anyways. So it doesn't matter if we reverse engineered Roswell crashes, or it's from the Andromeda galaxy that's coming here, or Palladian or Orion collective, or whatever it is. Right. It doesn't matter, because it's all alien. I'll leave it with that.
So that's a great way to end it. So stay tuned for next Tuesday. We will have another amazing guest on, and I will update till then. So everybody enjoy your day today, and don't freeze if you're in the Midwest, because we're freezing here. I'm sure you're freezing there too, Drew, but yeah.
It's not bad today. It's, it's in the 40s or so. It's cold at night, but
we're like 15. So it's like, don't leave your house.
During the day? During the day?
Yeah. It started off at 6 degrees this morning.
Oh man, it gets cold at night, but I mean it's sunny during the day, and being the high desert, it warms up quick and cools down quick. But it's been pretty nice. We went to a Christmas parade last night in a little town as close to us. There was like, the whole thing lasted like less than 5 minutes. It was so small. It was nice though, like going to us.
I know, that's a start.
Yeah, it's nice having little kids though. They're both walking now, and Hawk's potty trained, and so it's really nice to being able to enjoy the holidays again. Having kids allows you to relive your childhood in a way a little bit. So it's been really nice.
Magic back, yes.
Yeah, this is the office, and I got a pile of stuff over there. This is like the hiding spot, for the kids.
If I were a kid, I'd been I was on a mission to find out what I got. But
yeah, this is Santa's workshop out here. So.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Well, you enjoy your day too, and then be in touch, and look for us next Tuesday. What am I talking about?
Sometime.
Yeah, we'll be releasing more as it comes along, but
there'll be sometime, and if sun pops up, we're gonna be back earlier. So.
Yep, we will sure do that. And for everybody, we'd like just to thank you once again for listening, and we will see you soon. I am.
Take the journey, come on, let's go. Oh yeah, where the stars and secrets glow. Subnation X radios glow. In the night, we'll ride the show into the unknown, where mysteries are shown. Dance to the beat we own. Come with us and let it go. Night sky whispers in the dark. Secret trails will leave a mark. Follow, cross, ignite that spark. We're a ride, it's just the start. Into the unknown, where mysteries are shown. Dance to the beat we own. Come with us and let it go. pure delights, mysteries come to light. Hold on tight, it's out of sight. Into the unknown, unknown, where mysteries are shown. Dance to the beat we own. Come with us and let it go. Feel the rain, come on, let's go. Feel it, oh yeah. Where the stars and secrets flow so bright. Summation X radios glow. Oh no, in the night we'll ride the show into the unknown, unknown, where mysteries are shown. Dance to the beat we own. Come with us and let it go. When mysteries are shown. Dance to the